coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Oh, I come from the south, from way down south, where the corn and potatoes used to grow. There's great big elegant pictures show, and my old Kentucky home is a French chateau. Way down south in Dixie, swing low, sweet.
Rico, I think we got something there.
I'll say we have.
Carry me home. Oh, I come from the south, from the deep, deep south, where the fields of cotton just die with blight, and the pappy reads Esquire with delight, while my Alabama mammy plays bridge all night. Way down south in Dixie, swinging low.
Grace and peace to all who do the will of our Father in heaven, who the world knows as God, but I know as Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world knows as Jesus Christ. What I want to do in this video is trace black history back to the Jews of Portugal. I want to do this without using books that are really hard to either find or to obtain because of the price. You know, anything with any kind of value that tells the truth is going to be expensive or hard to find because people want to cover those things up. But I can find enough just by using popular sites, websites, and using breadcrumbs to find the truth, because they have to tell the truth, but they have to tell it in a way that nobody can really figure out without thinking too deeply about it. So I will start with the word Pickaninny. As we see in the film Everybody Sings, or Everybody Sing, Judy Garland put on blackface. I'm not here to judge her or her motivations, because in the business, who knows who was really calling the shots behind those things. I'm not here to judge her for what she did, but she was in blackface. And let me point out that Hollywood is ran by a certain group of people who are mentioned in Revelation chapter 2 verse 9. And we're not allowed to say who they are, but we know who they are. And so Judy Garland was in blackface, and as this child, like black child, she is called a Pickaninny. And a Pickaninny, or the definition of a Pickaninny, is a small black child. Now this is where we begin to kind of put pieces of the puzzle together. Now, of course, the word Pickaninny can be used of any child at all, but it became a byword for black people. And as we know in the book of Deuteronomy, the Most High proclaimed that one of the curses that would be upon the Israelites is that they would be bywords. And we have a popular one, the N-word, which I will not say right now. And here's another one, Pickaninny. That's another byword. It is an offensive and dated term referring to a small black child. And we see over here, there's a link to Wikipedia. Why not? I'll go there and read what Wikipedia says. Now, some people don't like Wikipedia, but what you can do with Wikipedia is it can help point you into a direction. You don't have to use it as the source, but it can point you in a direction. The sources are listed here. So this is one thing that people who don't like Wikipedia should pay attention to, is that someone can always go to the source and verify that the information on Wikipedia is right. So Pickaninny refers to a small black child. And we see on the Wikipedia page historical proof that the term was used that way. So where did the term Pickaninny come from? It is possibly, more than likely, I would say, derived from Portuguese pequenino, or a boy, a child, very small or tiny, and has been used as a racial slur for African American children, or a byword. Now, I also looked it up on Merriam, and Merriam also says probably ultimately from Portuguese pequenino, Pickaninny, from pequenino, from Portugal. All right, and Merriam also says that it's for a black child. So here's our connection to Portugal. This is just one of the connections, okay? This is just the one thread I'm following. It's not the only thread. It's just one of the threads that I'm following. And it's an example of how anybody can make these connections and find the truth. So let's look at Portugal's history, or black history. Lisbon is a name that comes up. We should pay attention to that because it'll come up again. Lisbon plaques remember Portugal's silent role in slavery. A silenced role. A lot of nations have a silenced role. Things that they have tried to keep hidden, and America also does the same thing by banning certain conversations. Certain histories are banned. They'll say on one hand, never forget, but on the other hand, when it comes to things dealing with black history, things that happen to black Americans, then it becomes don't talk about it. Then they want to use words such as woke and throw those words at you to try to silence you and shut you up. But these are things, this is our history. You can't just force amnesia onto people and just pretend as they came into existence 20 years ago, or try to force them to act as if they came into existence 20 years ago. We have a whole history in this country, and none of it should be banned. None of it should be off limits. We should be able to talk about our history. So in this picture, the caption is Lisbon Mayor Carlos Moedas attends the unveiling of a statue of Paulino Jose da I don't know these words, sorry, to celebrate Portugal's African history and the contribution of African descent in Portuguese society in Lisbon, Portugal. So this is where the term Pickaninny is coming from, referring to a small child, and it refers especially to a small black child coming from Portugal. And you have the history of slavery, or not just slavery, but let's just get into it really. Plaques turning spotlight on Lisbon's role in slavery and silenced African history have been installed in different locations across the city, a long awaited moment for many, given the country's lack of acknowledgement of its colonial past. So from the 15th to the 19th century, so this is one of the things that frustrate me, is that they refuse to give specific dates. This is what they do. This is how they keep things covered up and act as if you can't find evidence or proof of a certain thing that you're talking about. You can, but you have to, they purposefully muddle things and make it obscure so that you can't pinpoint things. You can't make certain connections, right? But we can make this connection. The 15th century, right? That's the year 14 something, right? 14 something. That's the 15th century. So just keep that in mind. Lisbon, 1400s. More than 6 million Africans were kidnapped and forcibly transported by Portuguese ships and sold into slavery. So they want us to remember their trauma especially when it comes to that number. but ours is forgotten. And this is just Portugal. So 6 million Africans were kidnapped and forcibly transported by Portuguese ships and sold into slavery, primarily into Brazil. But don't let that throw you off. They didn't only go to Brazil. As evidenced by the fact that we have black people referred to as Pickaninny. So it wasn't just Brazil. But little is taught in schools about it, and Portugal's colonial past is often seen as a source of pride. Same thing that they want to do by banning what they call critical race theory, things like that. They don't want you to talk about it. So 20 plaques were installed at sites of historical significance, including at one of the capital's main squares. I can't even try to pronounce that. On the riverside where many enslaved Africans disembarked. And it's not that I can't pronounce other words, but like I have a much easier time with Japanese and Paleo Hebrew, a much easier time. So more than erased history was silenced. Jose Lino Neves from Botato Yetu, the association behind the project, said at the initiative's launch on event on Saturday. Sorry, I'm butchering this, y'all. He argued it was important to recognize the city's link to slavery and how Americans and people of African descent, from doctors and journalists, have continued in Portuguese society. But let's get to the part where it really... Oh yeah, but actually that was important. I passed it already. So yeah, that was the key points here. Lisbon and 15th century, starting at the 15th century, which is the 1400s. More than 6 million Africans were kidnapped and forcibly transported and sold into slavery. Now I also want to look at this one, keep those bits of information in mind. Let's go to Al Jazeera, how Portugal silenced centuries of violence and trauma. I'm going to get rid of this. This is kind of annoying me, but I can't do it right now. There has been little acknowledgement of Portugal's role in the transatlantic slave trade until now. One of the reasons why is that when you get into these conversations, one of the first things people will throw at you is, oh, Africans sold Africans into slaves. That's the game they ran on me when I was in like 4th grade. And I didn't know any better, and that shut me up. And I thought, oh, well, we sold our own people into slavery. Because I didn't know any better. But that's what I learned at school, and I think it was the 4th grade. And it was our own people teaching us these things. Because this was what we were taught. So our history began at slavery. We sold our own people into slavery, and that was it. That was our history. That was our origin. That's our heritage, our culture. But it's all false. So, here's that name again, Lisbon. Now let's go to, I want to skip down to, alright. This is just for a second witness. On this website, let's see, references to Portugal's efforts. Okay, I'm going to skip past this, and I'm going to go, okay, but until now, there has never been a single explicit reference or memorial or monument in Portugal's public space to its pioneering role in the transatlantic slave trade. Look, its pioneering role. These people on the internet will literally gaslight you into thinking that Africans started the slave trade, but as if they began capturing slaves with no one to sell to. This is what people do when you bring up these issues on or X or social media. And so, Portugal's public space into its pioneering role in the transatlantic slave trade, nor any acknowledgement of the millions of lives that were stolen between the 15th and 19th centuries. Again, the 15th, the year 1400 something. So, that was just a second. Here we go. I could probably read from here too. Alright. So here we have the mention of Sao Tome. The national school curriculum, museum, and tourist infrastructure all amount to a grandiose rendering of the country's 15th to 17th century discoveries in Africa, Asia, and the Americas, and a selective recollection of the 20th century colonial exploits in Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde, Sao Tome and Principe, Gao, Macau, and East Timor. So this is just one of the locations that Portugal had a foot in, and that's going to come up again. Sao Tome. So we have Lisbon, Sao Tome, and the year somewhere in the 1400s where this is all kicked off. So what I don't think I need anything else from this page. Just looking to make sure before I go on. Alright, so nope, I think I'm good here. Let's go to this website called Jewish Heritage Europe. So this is one of their websites. You know, this is not a website that somebody can dismiss as black or Afrocentric or Hebrew Israelite, none of that. This is the Jewish website. And so it's about what they think it's about their people, but it's not actually their history they're reading about. They're picturing a whole different group of people in their head when they read and write this stuff. So archaeological evidence suggests that Jews have lived in what is now Portugal since Roman times. Going down to here we go. Let's start here. In 1492, right? The 15th century. 1492. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain expelled from Spain any Jew who refused conversion to Christianity. Again, many fled to Portugal, where King João declared them slaves shortly after their arrival. Now, who went there? Jews. Jews ran from Spain to Portugal and were declared slaves. Now, see, this is one of the reasons why I say when you point to somebody's history, when they try to defend who they are according to the Bible, and they say that they're one thing, but they don't have the evidence of that slavery that comes with being that thing. But on the other hand, other people do have that history that they can actually point to and show. Then the evidence is on their side. African Americans have that evidence on their side. So where King João declared them slaves shortly after their arrival. Following King João's death in 1494, still in the 15th century, Manuel restored the Jews' freedom. However, on drawing up his marriage contract with the daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella, the king yielded to the demands of Spain and agreed to complete the expulsion of Jews from the kingdom. So they kind of gloss over that. And they move on to say the Jewish community was an asset, and this sounds all good after that. And it was, it sounds like they stuck around, but it completely glosses over the expulsion. See, does it mention Sao Tome? Nope. But as we read at the Al Jazeera site, they had a foothold in Sao Tome. So where did the Jews go when they were expelled? Expelled forcibly. Back on Reuters again, they were from the beginning of the 15th century. This is what's important to us. 1490 something. More than 6 million Africans were kidnapped and forcibly transported by Portuguese ships and sold into slavery. Okay, so back here on that Jewish history website, 1494, they expelled the Jews from the kingdom. They glossed over it, but we can figure out the rest. So from Wikipedia on the persecution of Jews and Muslims by Manuel I of Portugal. So December 5th, 1496, King Manuel of Portugal signed a decree of expulsion of Jews and Muslims to take effect by the end of October of the next year. So the 15th century. Until the 15th century, some Jews occupied prominent places in Portuguese and political and economic life. Okay, so we skip past that because all they're going to do is repaint these people and image them to look like somebody else, so we don't have to look at them. Many also have an active role in Portuguese culture, and they kept their reputation as diplomats and merchants. By this time, Lisbon, there's that place's name, which was important, and Evora were home to important Jewish communities. Now go back to here in Lisbon. Again, Lisbon, Africans were kidnapped and forcibly transported by Portuguese ships. So you see how we can put the pieces of the puzzle together here. And so Lisbon, home to important Jewish communities. So December 5th, 1496, King Manuel of Portugal decreed that all Jews must convert to Catholicism or leave the country, in order to satisfy requests by the Catholic monarchs of Spain during the negotiations of the contract of marriage between himself and the eldest daughter Isabella. All right, so we read that on another website. And so the edict of 1496 turned into an edict of forced conversion in 1497. Jews were prevented from leaving the country and were forcibly baptized or converted to Christianity. Those who refused to pay taxes in protest were deported. Those who refused were deported from Portugal and abandoned to their fate in the islands of Sao Tome and Principe off the west coast of Africa. Remember, we're talking about the Jews here. Those who refused to pay their taxes, I guess that's part of the conversion, were deported, expelled to, where is that again? Let me go, Sao Tome, yep, and Principe, from Lisbon, where the Jewish community was. And again, Africans were kidnapped and forcibly transported. So we don't, so here now I'm on the Sao Tome and Principe article on Wikipedia. And I just wanted to give a good look at this place so that you could learn just a little bit about it and see its location and relation to Africa. Or did I already scroll past it? Oh yeah, there it is. So there's that little island off the west coast of Africa, the Slave Coast, right? I think it's also called the Gold Coast of Africa. And that's where they were sent. That's where these Jews were sent. Now imagine, if you're imagining white people still as Jews, this is where they were sent. And we all know that this is where a big chunk of the transatlantic slave trade went out from. So, history of the Jews in Portugal, also on Wikipedia. The history of the Jews in Portugal reaches back over 2,000 years and is directly related to Sephardi history. So we're talking about the Sephardic Jews, a Jewish ethnic division that represents communities that originated in the Iberian Peninsula, Portugal, and Spain. These are the real, I better not say that before they try to take this video down. I've already still got that one strike. The Jewish population is, what am I going to read from here? Where was it at? I can't remember exactly where that thing was. Oh, was it here? Yeah, I think it was here. So until the 15th century, some Jews occupied prominent places. Oh, this is almost the exact same thing it says on the other website. And has an active role in Portuguese culture. So yeah, they were sent from Lisbon, where there was major Jewish communities, to the west coast of Africa. They were Jews, not converts either. They were the original people. And this is where we come full circle. We have the Portuguese term, or the coming from the Portuguese term of the Pickaninny, the black child, Pickaninny, coming from Portugal, the Jews of Portugal. So I'm sorry for I would have done that much better if I was on the script, but I wasn't using the script. But anyway, thank you all for bearing with that, and I hope this has been edifying. Again, to those who do the will of our Father Yahweh in heaven, my Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai, who the world knows as Jesus Christ, bless you.